Councillor Bird. Thank you. Councillor Bushy. Thank you. Councillor Bradley. Councillor Bradley. Councillor Broad.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Cook.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Present.
Thank you. Deputy Warden Hand.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Loosely.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Present.
Councillor Napper.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Romboats. I see you. Councillor Romboats.
President,
Thank
sorry.
you. Councillor Bradley, I see you.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you. Councillor Stark.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Veen.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Weaver.
Present.
Councillor White.
Present.
Thank you. And of course, Warden Marriott.
Thank you. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinabeg. It is through the connection of the Anishinabeg with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. I'd ask any member of council to disclosure of any pecuniary interests now or as it arises during the meeting. And I would take a motion to go in camera for the reasons set on the agenda. Deputy Warden Hand and seconded by Councillor Weber. All in favor? It's carried. Good morning again. Welcome back. And I'd like to welcome everybody joining us online via YouTube this morning in the public. Item number 6, silent reflection, please. Thank you. I'd ask Mr. Tifo to rise and report for the in-camera session.
Yes, thank you, Warden Marriott. I can report that County Council met in camera this morning for a period of 17 minutes to address 4 matters. 1, it adopted its in-camera minutes of its meeting of June 1st, 2022. 2, it adopted its Committee A.M. and Committee P.M. in-camera minutes of June 15th, 2022. Thirdly, it appointed on an interim basis Dr. Sudit Ranade as acting MOH while staff recruits for a new MOH. And fourthly, in that regard, it authorized staff to look at other options for the filling of the position of MOH. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Item number 8, delegations. We have 2 delegations today. One will be in person, one will be virtually. So I'd have a motion to allow the presenter to come within the bar. Moved by Councillor Lucy, second by Councillor Ferguson. All in favor? That's carried. First one is Mr. Ken Phillips, the General Manager, Secretary Treasurer of the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, will be presenting to County Council to provide an overview of the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority activities and changes to the Conservation Authorities Act. Mr. Phillips. Yeah, that's good. Welcome, Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, Warden Marion. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I just wanted to take today to just reintroduce the Conservation Authority to many of you in terms of what we do, what we're up to at present. So I'm going to give you a general overview of some of the activities we're engaged with the county, as well as what's going on provincially and some of the changes being made to the Conservation Authorities Act. So to begin, the first slide, the St. Clair Conservation Authority is one of the 36 conservation authorities in the province of Ontario. I feel I'm almost required by law to throw this slide up to remind you that we are one of a network of CAs. Most of the Conservation Authorities Act was originally passed in 1946. Most of the CAs came into existence after Hurricane Hazel in 1954. So we're not new agencies by any means. St. Clair actually just celebrated its 60th anniversary last year. So we've been in this business a long time. Moving on to the St. Clair Conservation Authority itself, we were established in 1961 as the Sydenham Conservation Authority. In the 70s, we expanded to include all of St. Clair Region, or the St. Clair Conservation Authority, pardon me, not St. Clair Region. So initially, as you can see on the map, we have a portion of Lake Huron, St. Clair River, Lake St. Clair, and the Sydenham is the largest portion. We have 22 board of directors, so all of your municipalities are represented on our board, as well as we've just recently had a new provincial appointee. So with the changes to the Conservation Authorities Act, we now have an agricultural specific representative representing the agricultural sector, and he just began at our June meeting. So that brings our total number of board members up to 22. Our 2022 operating and capital budget is $9,596,597, and the general levy, which supports our operations, is just a little bit under $1.4 million. So in terms of our funding, the bulk of what we do with our business is self-generated. So about 63% of our budget comes from fees, grants, donations, etc. So as you can see, we try and keep our costs to the county as low as we can, but we are starting to come into some challenges. So moving on in terms of the actual relationship between Lambton County and St. Clair, full 92.5% of Lambton County falls within our watershed. The remainder of your watershed is looked after by the Asable Bayfield, so the 7.5% to the north. In terms of what we do specifically, a lot of it obviously revolves around planning and development. So our regulations under the Conservation Authorities Act, specifically Section 28, which deals with flooding and erosion concerns. We also manage forests on behalf of the county. So we have a staff person who we share with Lambton County in terms of managing your woodlots, such as the Lambton County Forest and also the Woodlands Conservation Bylaw. We just finished a project doing woodlands assessment for the county. So that was our GIS staff doing some work on there. In terms of hands on the ground activities, we're doing Phragmites remediation, so getting rid of that nasty little invasive species. And if you see our vehicles on the road and the back roads today and yesterday in the last few days, they're doing a larvicide program. So we are working on behalf of the county to keep pests to a minimum. Other activities obviously we do is we're one of the largest, if not the largest provider of environmental education, outdoor education for students in Lambton County at our outdoor education facility, as well as provide recreational opportunities and opportunities for tourism at our conservation areas. Now, in terms of the Conservation Act changes, so the current government, same as the former government, underwent a series of reviews of the Conservation Authorities Act, how we do business. So they recommended changes to the Act, and those changes are rolling out slowly over the course of the last year and into this year. So the first thing we had to do was submit a transition plan and an inventory of programs and services to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. What that detailed was, so each of your municipalities would have received that. You all have a designated staff person that we deal with in those regards. So that's literally listing every single thing we do, how we do it, where the funding comes from. That's basically what our inventory of programs and services is. The next stage is formulating memorandums of understanding with our municipal partners. So the province has mandated that in order for us to work with you, we now have to have formal memorandums of understanding for every single activity we undertake. So those are currently being devised. They need to be done by January 1st of 2024. So the bulk of the work we'll be doing on those and talking to your staff will be in 2023, and then they will be going to our board for approval and then to your councils for approval as well. So there's the two-stage there. We had, to be honest, the ministry still doesn't know how this is going to roll out. We did have some discussions because so many of you use Lambton County for your planning, whether we do for the planning portion of MOU, for example, do we do a standard planning MOU for the county and then have schedules for each of the municipalities? But the province has indicated that we do indeed need to undertake 17 or 18 specific MOUs with every single municipality and upper tier municipality. So we have a lot of agreements and work to be doing as we go forward. So we're beginning and have begun discussions preliminary with some Lambton County municipalities. Our first ones are more than likely going to be Middlesex, simply because a couple of the conservation authorities that deal with Middlesex County are pushing ahead a lot faster. So they'll be the first ones. But the good thing for your staff, for our staff, for county staff, will be that we're basically using the same template. So it's not going to be a reinvention and changing of wording and everything else for every single MOU. It's going to be a fairly standard document that we utilize. So moving on now to our planning and regulations portion. So I know it's been a concern of this council and individual municipalities about our capacity to do our work, get it out the door in time in a timely fashion. So we are making some changes to our planning and regulations department. So we had the authority hired a consultant last year to do an analysis, and it was discovered that we were short staff. So much like most of your municipalities with the growth in the area, and all Lambton County has hired a number of staff. It was recommended that we hire 3 additional staff in our planning and regulations department. So that was going to be spread over 2 years. 1.5 this year, 1.5 next year. So that was the main cause for our double-digit levy increase this past season, was getting, this past year, getting those staff in place. We're also going to be utilizing the Conservation Ontario recommended service standards delivery protocols. So Conservation Ontario is basically our AMO or ROMA. But what they've done is they've come together with a set standard of a set of standards that we are to utilize in terms of delivery. So it's literally things like maximum allowable time that we have to return a phone call to people, maximum amount of time that we have to get permits out the door, a complete full permit. So we're going to be implementing those standards, bringing a formal policy to our board in the fall to get that approved, to get those things going, to make sure that we're delivering the best services we can to our municipal partners. And finally, staff will also be looking at revisions to our other policies with regards to Bill 109, the More Homes for Everyone Act. Once again, we are not sure if we are falling under the same conditions as municipalities with regard to if we don't meet timelines, do we have to refund the money? The ministry still hasn't given us an answer to that question yet either. So that's a couple of the activities we're engaged with. And that's just a quick overview for all of you and get myself an introduction to the members of council here. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. First question, Councillor Stark.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. A couple of questions. This council is on record as requesting a look by the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority at a reduction in numbers of directors. I'd like you to comment on how the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority has actually dealt with that request. And secondly, if you wouldn't mind, many members here are former members or present members of the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority Board. And I wondered if you could just give us an update of your personal background and how you came to become the new general manager effective last November. Thank you.
Mr. Phillips, please.
Through you, Ward Marriott. Thank you, Mr. Stark. Also our chair, by the way, for those of you who aren't aware. Just with regards, so we did look at the size of our board. There was concern from some board members about our board being too cumbersome in terms of its ability to make decisions. As we mentioned, we do have 22 members. So the process through the province is, it's up to the authority to decide how big its board's going to be. But in order to make any changes in the size to the board, you require 100% agreement from all the board members. So your municipality would have to vote to give up its membership. That's simply not going to be a realistic approach for us. We did ask the province not to appoint an agricultural representative simply because a quarter of our board are agricultural representatives in some form or another. But the province went ahead and appointed one regardless. So we have analyzed the situation. We compared the size of our board to other authorities. But I said, as I noted, that when we actually looked at the process for going about doing it, it wasn't going to be feasible to get to 100% increase or agreement in terms of the reduction of the size. With regard to my experience, so this is my summer job. I started at the Niagara Authority way back when. So I basically went started as a summer student, became a full-time employee of the Lambton Conservation Authority. My first general manager's job was at the Crow Valley Conservation Authority in 2001. Managed that for 5.5 years, went to Halton for 9.5 years following that as the CAO, and then took some time off from the CA world. Chaired the Ontario Parks Board of Directors for 3 years. And then when the opportunity here at St. Clair came, I was fortunate enough to be selected and came here, and am very much enjoying my time here so far. So,
Thank you. Any other questions, comments for Mr. Phillips? Councillor Loosely.
Thank you, Ward Marriott, and thank you, Ken, for coming and for this presentation. I just want to follow up. I know it's been dealt with. You know, I already was concerned about the size of the board. 22 members still makes it hard to be efficient. I know it's been dealt with, it's done. But I also wanted to mention that I'm really pleased that the Conservation Authority has gotten out of a few park areas, like I think it was McEwen and then it was the Highland Glen that were in the process. And I just support the idea, if it's something that's not within the Conservation Authority's mandate, if it's just cutting the grass, whatever, or if you need an easement to a dam, whatever, I think it's something that I'd like you to continue to promote. And just to get back to just doing what is in our mandate as far as the authority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Looks like we've run out. Mr. Phillips, thanks for coming in this morning.
Very much for your time. Oh, sorry, can I just make one comment?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Through you, Warden Marriott, I just want to thank this council. This is not, it's going to sound like an odd comment, but it is rare that I appear before a council that I'm not standing at the back of the room with everyone lording over top of me. So my ability to come here and sit, not necessarily as an equal, but at a level playing field is greatly appreciated. So I'd like to thank this council for being that progressive and doing that. It really struck me when I came in here. It's like, oh, I get to go up to the very front. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks for those comments. The second delegation is Don McCabe and George Dickenson from the Lambton Farm Safety Association. Will be presenting to Council regarding the annual Family Safety Day and requests that properties in Lambton County be identified by 911 municipal addressing to assist first responders. I see Mr. Dickenson online there. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Warden Marriott and Council, for allowing us this time to present to you. Lambton Farm Safety is a fairly small group that works to raise awareness and promote safety on farms and communities. Our board consists of 12 members, of which I am currently the chair. In the past, most municipalities had reps on our board, but currently only St. Clair and Plimpton, Wyoming have designated representation. It'd be wonderful if more councils would designate a person to sit on our board. Although WSBS does reimburse some expense, we rely on donations to put on our programs. County municipalities have in the past each gave us $200 per year to help with this, but this year, once again, only St. Clair and Plimpton have done this. We would ask that the county roads department continue to monitor the caution slow moving vehicle signs that are around and replace when needed. Also, if we had a contact to notify if we see any signs that are not in good repair, this would help keep them fresh. The pandemic has made our mandate challenging like others the last couple of years, but we did host some mental health meetings, both live and virtual, in conjunction with Lambton Federation of Agriculture. And last year, a virtual safety week for children. This year, we're happy to have a live safety day for families in Thetford tomorrow from 9 to 1. In the past, we have put children in groups, but this year, everyone is going through as families to reduce mixing. I invite all of you to come and join us tomorrow. We also invite you to a free showing of the movie Silo that deals with grain entrapment on July 14 at Canetto Theater in Forest at 7 p.m. It will be followed by a short commentary by Dean Anderson of Canadian Ag Safety Association and Workplace Safety Prevention Services. Later this year, Lambton Farm Safety will be at the Lambton County Plow Match, Petroleum Fair, and Ag in the Classroom events. I'd now like to turn over to another board member, Don McCabe.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present to the council today. And I wish to raise an issue today of missing or vacant signage on numerous properties in the county. When the 911 signs were dispersed once upon a time, they were essentially done to identify buildings and people in houses and barns and such. However, a greater number of farmland in Lambton County is now had houses tore down as time goes on, or barns removed. That still does not remove the opportunity, though, for an accident to occur on that property. And now with the reality of everybody carrying around a personal device with them, and just assuming that if I put an address into Google, it's going to give me a nice little map to take me someplace. The reality is we don't have any identification for vacant farmland property, and it's vacant in terms of people on an ongoing basis, but not vacant in terms of having an accident occur there. We would request that municipalities consider putting in some kind of a note or raise the issue with their residents to get signage on it, because first responders, such as the fire and ambulance, rely on those lines for those signs for direct travel to those sites. And this is not only a first responder issue. I took the opportunity yesterday just to make a couple phone calls to some of my suppliers and other suppliers in the area, and did get permission from Wanstead Farmers Co-op, Delta Farm Equipment, and Advantage Farm Equipment, who are in the input and supply business for farmers and offer services to farmers, and said, ask them directly if they've ever had trouble locating a particular farm in Lambton County, and they said all responded yes, because of course some of their technicians and workers are now a much younger generation, and doing the thing of doing the Google search is right there. So we definitively would like to work with you to see how we could get more signage up, because some of these signs were there, have been taken down or ran over because equipment was too wide or whatever. But we only have to look towards a very, very unfortunate accident that occurred in Hastings County once upon a time that spawned the Emily project. And I know that from the Emily project, the municipality of St. Clair has taken action to be part of the Emily project, but our other municipalities in Lambton have not gone there yet. And whether you're going to take on the premise of the Emily project or just issue the normal 911 signs as we currently have, we would like to see the complete grid of Lambton County covered for everybody's safety. And I would ask George to pick up the conversation again, please.
We had an anonymous donation to help develop children's awareness programs. So with the help of Frameworks Media, we're putting together 6 short videos that can be played around the county, whether it be at parts counters or wherever. And I'd like to give you an example of 2 of them. Carly, could you roll the green one and the one of the distracted ones, please?
George or Don, do you have anything further?
Yeah. Well, okay, I didn't know if Carly was going to roll one of the other ones, but thanks for allowing us to speak. And yeah, I think Carly has a flyer up if she wants to put it up for that we for our Progressive Ag Safety Day tomorrow, and we'd be happy to see you there. Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know if Carly was going to roll one of the other ones, but
Yeah, she is going to roll one more.
Thanks for allowing us to speak, and yeah, I think Carly has a flyer up if she wants to put it up for that we for our
There is one more here, George.
Progressive Ag Safety Day tomorrow, and we'd be happy to see you there. Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know if Carly was going to roll one of the other ones, but
Yeah, she is going to roll one more.
Thanks for allowing us to speak, and yeah, I think Carly has a flyer up if she wants to put it up for that we for our
Sorry, we're just having some sound issues here. Just one moment.
There is one more here, George.
Progressive Ag Safety Day tomorrow.
Not even talking. Okay, I think we're got our technical issues resolved, and George and Don, thanks for your presentation. And as you said, tomorrow is the family day. Anybody that wants to come out is welcome to. So,
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. And yes, everyone, welcome at the Legacy Center in Bedford tomorrow, and next week at the Canetto Theater in Forest.
sorry, we do have a question. Councillor Arnold, please.
Thank you very much, Warden Marriott and County Council. Mostly just a statement, not really a question. I'd just like to thank George and Don and the Lambton Farm Safety Association for so many years of trying so hard to protect the people in Lambton County, the farm families, and especially the children. And I think these videos are fantastic. If they don't open your eyes, for some people, nothing ever will. So on behalf of, I know St. Clair Township, and I think I speak for everyone here, thank you so much. Your dedication, both of you and so many others, have made this community far safer. So thank you, Warden Marriott.
Thank you for that, Councillor Arnold. I reiterate the same comments. Nothing else? We'll let you go, gentlemen. Thank you again.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, folks, and please engage in activities that will help us meet our mandate. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 9 is minutes of Council of Open Session of June the 1st. The mover for those, Councillor Weber, seconded by Councillor Ferguson. All in favor? That's carried. Item number 10, correspondence. Correspondence to receive and file. We have 3 items here. Would you Councillor Cook to move all three, seconded by Councillor Bean. All in favor? That's opposed? That's carried. Item number 11, items not requiring a motion. There's two items here. Do we have a motion to receive and file those? Councillor Bean and Deputy Warden Hand. All in favor? That's carried. And, oh, sorry, Councillor Bradley. Sorry, go ahead.
You didn't see my hand. On item C on correspondence, which is related to emergency exercises, this has been an ongoing issue with the province. So we can have 6 emergency exercises, real ones, in a year, and yet we still have to do a paper one. It's just an example of, bureaucracy that's not necessary. I'd like to move that we endorse this, and I'm sure some of the others have gone through the same process. You go through a tabletop exercise when you've had many real, and all of us have experienced this in the last 3 years, but we used to go through this repeatedly. No, the tabletop doesn't matter. I mean, the real emergency doesn't matter. It's only the tabletop. So I would move that we endorse this particular motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor White. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Sorry for the not seeing you, Councillor Bradley. So let's see here. That brings us to number 12, reports requiring a motion, Finance, Facilities and Court Services Division, report regarding zero emission vehicle infrastructure program. Mover for that, Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Bradley. Discussion? Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. I know I've made similar comments about this before, but I think we need a greater awareness brought to this. So in my opinion, I wanted to emphasize that this is putting the cart before the horse, I believe. Right now, the grid cannot store enough electricity to provide power on demand, and the new infrastructure needed to achieve that would be billions and billions of dollars. So it doesn't matter how many charging stations you have. Just imagine, if you will, trying to fight a major fire with a garden hose instead of a hydrant. Just some food for thought. We cannot supply the demand, nor can we afford it. First, we must be able to ensure a continuous power source on demand. Secondly, we mustn't forget the need for lithium for the lithium-ion batteries. I know there will be growth in the mining industry, but the demand will outstrip the supply capabilities. The public needs to be fully aware of the exorbitant costs to travel and the increase on our utility bills. And the government needs to slow down until it can guarantee a continuous on-demand supply of raw materials and power with no increases in production, emissions, and in a cost-effective manner. And until then, I will not be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Councillor Bradley.
It's the instigator of this report. I think Councillor Stark seconded it. We're trying to be ahead of other communities across this country. And if we want to be leaders, and I know there's interest in locating electric battery operations, recycling, and manufacturing in this region, then we need to show that we actually have the basics to support that type of industry. And it may be 3-5 years before it hits its stride, but I was really pleased with the report. I was really pleased with the level of cooperation and collaboration with all the different communities and Blue Water Power, et cetera. So I think this is a step forward. Otherwise, we're going to be left behind. And if we're left behind on this issue, it'll take us years and years to catch up.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Brings us to committee minutes. I'd call on Councillor Stark.
Thank you, Warden. I move for your consideration the AM committee meeting minutes of June 15th.
Thank you. Number 1, under Infrastructure Development Services, A letter from the Archives Association of Ontario. Number 2 is an information report. Number 3, report requiring a motion on the County Road 80, Courtright line. Number 4, move the installation of 2 flashing beacons at Brigden Road and County Road 80. Number 5 is a report regarding the next generation of the 911 agreement. Number 6, under Public Health Services Division, information report on air quality and extreme temperature. And under Cultural Services Division, number 7, correspondence that were received and filed. And number 8 was information report under Cultural Services. Number 9 was a report requiring a motion on the early learning partnership between Early On Centers and Lambton County Library. Number 10 was a report under Museums, Gallery, and Archives Collection Management. And number 11 was the Library Policy Manual. Number 12 was in camera. 13, motion to dealt with in camera. 14, that the chair declare the committee to go back into open session. And 15, adjournment. Councillor Stark, please.
I move that the minutes of June 15th be accepted as presented.
Seconded by Deputy Warden Hand. All in favor? That's carried. And Committee PM minutes. Councillor Cook, please.
Thank you, Warden. I will present the minutes for the June 15th committee minutes for PM committee for consideration.
Thank you. Under Long-Term Care Division, the information reports is number 1. Under Finance, Facilities, and Court Services was an information report regarding the 2022 budget review and the COVID-19 impacts update. Number 3 was a report requiring a motion regarding the asset management program moving forward. Number 4 was a report regarding the financial policies. Number 5 was an information report regarding housing and homelessness plan. Number 6 was information report regarding circles update. Number 7 was in camera. 7 and 8, and number 9 was to go back into open session with number 10, adjournment. Councillor Cook, please.
Thank you, Warden Merritt. I will move the minutes as presented for June 15th for the PM committee.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Miller. All in favor? That's carried. We have no items tabled from previous meetings. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Forgot the Audit Committee minutes dated June 23rd. Do we have a motion to receive and file those? Councillor Stark and Councillor Bean. All in favor? That's carried. And no items tabled from previous meetings. That brings us to number 15, notice of motion. Councillor Bird gave notice of motion dated June 26 regarding a waste-to-energy pre-feasibility study. Councillor Bird's motion. Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Warden Marriott, sorry. So the motion, further to my carried motion of March 14th, 2020, and the subsequent meeting on August 19th, 2020, wherein Council agreed to an annual allocation of $70,000 per year for 2020, 21 and 22 towards a dedicated solid waste management reserve fund for updating the waste management master plan. I'm now asking for a resolution of Council to request staff to move ahead with the waste to energy pre-feasibility study as soon as possible, using a single source bid from the global waste to energy research technology leaders as attached to your package for a very cost-effective price of $50,000, as they are backed by the United Nations and many other sponsors. If I have a seconder, I will give some further information.
Councillor White seconds.
Thank you. So further to a Sarnia Lambton specific study, by investing into a state-of-the-art waste-to-energy facility will bring global attention to this region, and it will give a clear message to global industry leaders that Sarnia Lambton is looking to bring new technologies to reduce the carbon emissions footprint and methane gas from landfills, which is 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide over a 20-year period. Another aspect is that the waste-to-energy plant could generate steam and electricity as well as hydrogen, a new source of energy that could be stored. Therefore, I believe that we should consider waste-to-energy as a priority due to this very critical period of time. A master plan update cannot be carried out until there's a vision of what, why, where, and how. So this pre-feasibility would create that vision at such a cost-effective price, a price that can be offered to us because the Global Waste-to-Energy Research Technology Council is a charitable organisation backed by United Nations and other large sponsors to encourage and support the highest level of expertise in research and teaching around the world. Our Waste Management Reserve Fund already has 140,000, and if 50,000 was to be used for the pre-feasibility plan, there would still be plenty left for the Waste Management Master Plan update. After speaking with staff earlier last month, I was advised that the Master Plan update would probably cost a lot less than the $200,000. And after this December's deposit, there would still be 160,000 in the Special Reserve Fund for this update. A waste-to-energy plant would take care of all our waste disposal, clean up the environment, create lots of long-term skilled jobs with relatively high pay, and take one of our most challenging social problems and turn it into a source of new wealth for our local economy. We must stop increasing the environmental debts to our children and grandchildren. We need to establish more cradle-to-grave processes and follow them through. So to finish, a sustainable future lies in changing our behaviour towards a zero landfill future. And Sarnia Lambton could possibly become the first carbon-neutral county in the whole of North America if we act fast and do what we really should at this critical time. Thank you.
Open it up to discussion. Councillor Stark first, and then Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, through you, Warden, to Mr. Cole. You're going to have to refresh my memory, if you could, as to the discussion that we previously had in terms of what the capital costs would be to engage in this process. And I understand that the waste master plan will deal with this. However, it seemed to me that we were talking exorbitant dollars to get a process like this in place, if you could refresh my memory.
Mr. Cole, please.
Thank you, through you, Warden Marriott, and to Councillor Stark. We had set aside $70,000 a year for the Waste Management Master Plan to be completed. I believe part of that discussion was that normally a Waste Management Master Plan would not take that much money to update, but we're essentially starting from scratch. So we have significant investigation, and we need to reestablish our baseline, our baselines throughout the county of where our waste is going and how it's being dealt with, as well as work with each of our local municipalities to integrate their systems and their processes into the counties and make sure we're approaching our waste management efficiently and effectively. That is still the cost estimate for the Waste Management Master Plan.
Follow up, Mr. Stark? Councillor Stark?
So am I then led to believe that we in fact need these monies to accomplish what you're saying in terms of a waste management master plan, and when would that be expected to be completed?
Mr. Cole, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Yeah, until we go out and get a tender for the Waste Management Master Plan, that cost estimate is where we foresee that project going. And it could very well come in, these are variable assignments. It could very well come in cheaper. It could, in this climate, come in more expensive. Our schedule, our commitment to council was that we would set up a terms of reference and put out an RFP to hire a consultant to proceed with that waste management master plan under the new term of council. And that was what that reserve was set aside to do.
Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Ward Marriott. I see 2 or 3 issues with this operation. One, I do not mind the energy from waste. I think in the future that can be some place we go look at. But right now, with this motion, we are now dabbling as council in operations. There was no request for proposal go out. We are being solicited by a company and asked by Councillor Bird to give them a contract. This has not gone through staff. I do not think this is proper. Secondly, we are now in July. New council comes in November, December. The idea itself should perhaps go into a new council where they have 4 years to deal with this issue in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor White.
Thank you. Just to add to or follow up on Councillor Ferguson's point there, just a question to staff, what would this do to the process that's currently underway? Would it be an enhancement? Would it interrupt the process? Your thoughts, please, sir.
Mr. Cole, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Typically through the public process of a waste management master plan, we would want to see something like this come out of that. Energy from waste is an entirely valid way to deal with our waste. Don't get me wrong. There's a number of processes that have been shown to be effective and safe and valid for municipalities to use to manage our waste. Considering each of those as part of a holistic approach and moving with council's direction, with the steering committee's direction, and with the public's input would be the typical process to facilitate that type of discussion before moving ahead with a project that would lead us down a particular path.
Councillor Veen and then Deputy Warden Hand.
Thank you, Warden, members of County Council. If this is such a lucrative deal, how come Waste Management and these other companies haven't come forward to propose to us to put this plan in place right here in Lambton County? I mean, they're in business to make money, so I would think they should be approaching us, and I think that's the way it should stay.
Okay. Deputy Warden Hand, you had a comment or question?
I had a question around the possible single source bid. I thought that was not in line with our policy. My concern I do believe this is an important topic, but I would like to see what's available within Canada and you go out for bids and you find other companies rather than this is a U.S. company. I'd rather see what we can do within our own country. Thank you.
Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. In response to Councillor Hand, her comments about the American company, this is in fact, this proposal has come with the letter with the quotation addressed, I believe, to the Warden. It is a global council. It's not a US company, so it's a charitable global council with all the highest level expertise people around the world in many different countries. The co-chair of this council happens to sit in Columbia University in New York, but the rest are in every country around the world. As far as the single source bid, it's something that we are allowed to do, we can do. There's lots of instances that I could tell you. I mean, we've all used them, whether it's people we keep on retainer, it's people we know. So just because this particular council maybe is not known to many of you, does not mean to say that they're not the highest level. I mean, and it's easy, the presentation has been included in here to tell you some of their history and what they're about, and it's easy to check up on all of that. And because they are a charitable organisation, 50,000 is nothing when you compare how much is proposed to do a master plan update. It's neither here nor there. But the point is, and a very important point, I believe, is that I know staff are talking about hiring a consultant to do the master plan update for waste management, but until you have a vision to know where you're going, and let's face it, we're in a very critical time, very, very critical. You know, landfills are filling up. They are disgusting, gaping holes with lots of emissions. We need to do something now. The timing is very critical. We need some action. So we need to get a vision, however staff decides to do that, but we need that vision first before we can move forward. But I'd just like to emphasize it's very critical. Thank you.
Councillor Bean, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Board members, County Council. I guess the other question I thought is, how many of these plants are already up and running? I mean, are we going to be the first? Is this just an experimental thing? And if this is so great, why isn't everybody else already on the bandwagon?
Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. In response to Councillor Bean, no, it's not an experiment, and there are quite a few in Canada already and in the States that are all around the world. Some people have recognised the critical situation that we're in and that we have to address it, and they've brought about action before others. And if everybody looked at the links I enclosed with this package and viewed the webinar, you can search further online yourself to find out these people by their names. You can check their history and you can see what has happened in Canada already. You can even phone some of those plants in Canada already if you wanted to see how they're running, how effective they are. So it's by no means an experiment. Thank you.
Follow up, Councillor Bean.
Thank you. I guess then if it's up and running, we shouldn't need to spend the $50,000 on a study.
One more, Councillor Bird, and that's it. Okay.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. Everybody, no matter which area, and this is very specific, the proposal I put in is specific for Sarnia Lambton area. Every area is different depending on the industry, the types of businesses and their population. So every single county is different. And so this is still necessary. As I was saying before, you need a specific vision for this specific county before we can move forward with updating the master plan and going forward with all the other steps that staff would take. Thank you.
Councillor White.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. I do believe that this is a viable option long term. Just my feeling, I was in a session, I think in Quebec City a few years ago at FCM, and learning from other municipalities who are engaging in this exact practice and with great success. So I do think that there's viability here. The landfills do provide, in effect, a commodity. It's still early days, but some of that pressure is simply the need to move towards remediating some of these sites or closing some of the sites for lack of available landfill space moving forward into the future. However, I do think that just this today, what we're dealing with is putting the cart before the horse. So I'd rather wait to see the master plan before we engage further in this type of a direction. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Weber.
Thanks, Warden Marriott. This whole thing, there's no terms of reference, there's no deliverables. It's $50,000 out of the air. I can't support this in this form. I think we have to go through the master plan process. Energy from waste is certainly something that is growing around the world. I believe the city of Ottawa has a plant that they're working with. Excuse me. Down the road, yes, but without a terms of reference with a single point, I can't support the motion.
Councillor Arnold.
Thank you very much, Warden Marriott, members of County Council, and I thank Councillor Bird for bringing this forward, and I think it's a great initiative to try and put in place. What I'd like to do is I'd like to propose that we table this motion and have a report from our staff for the process of the master plan, how everything unfolds, and where this would fit into that process. As well as included in the process is a report, a summary report, from our own energy from waste, which is at the Sarnia landfill. We haven't heard much of it for the last few years. It'd be nice to have that included into a report coming back to council for maybe not next meeting, but the meeting after, something at a high level. So I'd make a motion to table it with those things in mind. Mr. Warden.
Do we have a seconder for the tabling motion? Councillor Bird. No discussion. That ends debate. It moves us to, sorry. Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, all in favor of tabling? Opposed? That's carried. Brings us to item number 16, other business. Councillor Arnold.
Well, thank you very much, Ward Marriott, members of County Council. I had a couple things I wanted to just bring up. First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Stark for taking over my committee that I was unable to be there, and also to Councillor Kingston for being at our last meeting. Everybody did a great job, and I appreciate them all very much. The other thing is tomorrow we're going to go and see the sign out along the 402. What a great thing. I've been by it many times, and I think it looks absolutely wonderful, and I know we're not meeting again until September, so I wanted to have an opportunity to speak that today. And the last thing I'd like to bring up, Warden Marriott, is that we are going through the log cabin rebuild. And I think that's another great project that the county has undertaken. And I'd like to issue a challenge to all members of County Council to make a donation towards that. I believe we're halfway through to that, to the goal. And with that, if you will allow me to, Mr. Warden, I'd like to make a presentation of my own check to Andrew.
Great, thank you. First have Councillor Bird and then Councillor White.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. Probably a lot of you have already received the email, but I just wanted to emphasize a Save the Date event. For August the 12th to the 14th, there will be a special fly-in event at the Sarnia Chris Hadfield Airport, and there'll be flights coming in from all over Canada and the USA, just like last year. We hope everybody will consider attending this event and showing support for our community airport. You'll have a chance to see general aviation in action, supporting the Sarnia community, and at the same time becoming familiar with our great asset. Chris Hadfield and family will be there too, so you'll all have a chance to speak with them. So the planes will fly in on the evening of Friday, August the 12th, and the main event will be Saturday, August 13th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And on Sunday morning, Sarnia Street Cruisers will be there for cars and coffee for the public to enjoy. So we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.
Councillor White.
Thank you, Warden Marriott. Thank you, Councillor Bird, for bringing that forward. So that was one of the things I was going to discuss, so I appreciate that. I'll be looking forward to attending that this year. I missed it last year, so I'm doubly excited for that event this year. And another event that I'd never heard about before happens in the great metropolitan area of Thetford. And it's called Funyun Days, and I honestly had never heard of it before, but I am going to attend this year. But just to elaborate further on Funyun Days, I'd like to call on my colleague here, Mayor Bill Weber.
Councillor Weber.
Funyun Days started many, many years ago in Thetford because it was the onion capital of Ontario. The onion growers were there through when the railway was in town. It's a great festival. There's breakfasts and roast beef dinners, I believe. And I think this year there's some kind of a wrestling event that somebody might be attending and participating in. So I guess we're a tag team here of promoting each other's municipality and an event going up. So come on out, find the flyer, and come on out to Funyun Days.
Thank you for that. Is there anything else under other business? Councillor Napper.
Well, thank you very much, Warden May. When everybody's putting out invitations, we're very excited in Clifton, Wyoming here. On August 11th, we're going to officially open our new medical center, and there'll be details coming out on that. And I just like to put it on your calendar to come out and visit us. I think this event's going to start at 7, and we're very excited about that with our 2 new doctors. So if anybody is around, we'll be letting you know when that's happening.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure, did I get the the warden's picnic. Or not picnic.
Yeah, it's the same day, Councillor Napper. What time is your event?
Which one?
The one you just mentioned on the doctor.
I believe it's going to be at 7 o'clock. There'll be more information coming out. We just set the date yesterday. So we're very excited about that. It's huge for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else under other business? Councillor Bean.
Yes, well, we're making announcements. We have Black Gold Days in Oil Springs this weekend. And if you're not in Thetford, come out to Oil Springs.
Okay, one last chance. Anything else? Councillor Loosely.
Just want to let everyone know that's art in the park in the town of Petrolia this Friday and Saturday. Everyone's welcome. Please come.
Well, we're soon going to have the whole county covered. Deputy Warden Han.
Since everyone's putting in a plug for their events, I'd just like to mention that Mackinac is coming up and the Rotary is back in business doing their regular breakfast under the bridge. So hope for good weather and hope to see lots of people out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Arnold.
I can't resist, Warden Marriott. We have somber days this weekend, and the highlight will be a draw for a boat, motor, and trailer.
Wow, that's a busy weekend. Anything else? Okay, I think we finally ran out of events to attend this weekend. We'll move to item number 17, notice of bylaws. Mr. Tifo, please.
Yes, thank you, Warden Marriott. It's moved by Councillor Weber, seconded by Councillor Stark, that bylaw 19 of 2022 as circulated be taken as read the first and second time.
All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
It's moved by Councillor Stark and seconded by Councillor Weber that bylaw 19 of 2022 as circulated be taken as read a third and final time.
All in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. It brings us to item 20, adjournment. Under the recommendations, note that the Committee A.M. and P.M. meetings scheduled for Wednesday, August the 17th be moved to Thursday, August 18th to accommodate those councillors attending the AMO conference in Ottawa. Otherwise, declare this meeting adjourned until September the 7th, 2022. A mover for that? Councillor Bean, second by Councillor Ferguson. All in favor? That's carried. And O Canada, please.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free.